The year is 2017, and you know, to start things off in the realm of video games, we're not doing too bad. Nier Automata in February. We also had Tales of Berseria in February. Wait, what's this in April? Oh my gosh, it's Persona 5. Holy smokes. And then sandwiched between all these great JRPGs is another generation-defining JRPG, Mass Effect Andromeda. What was that? Not a JRPG, it's a Western RPG? Okay, hey, listen, Brainiac. If you're gonna come into my office, tell me how the Mass Effect. Very few series tickle my fancy quite like this one. I remember my journey with Commander Shepard like it was yesterday. I mean, probably because, you know, Legendary Edition just came out. But seriously, the choices you can make in that adventure and how they carried from game to game to game, we just don't ever see that in today's industry. It's bold and it defined what Mass Effect was all about. Then, after the series went on hiatus in 2012 following Mass Effect 3's launch and some of its DLC, we got to see Mass Effect Andromeda in 2017, and my God, was this game loaded with controversy with its launch. Its facial animations, they were borderline frozen. The characters weren't as interesting. The multiplayer was, you know, actually pretty good. The post-launch DLC that was, you know, supposed to fix the game, add more to the story like certain alien races, never happened, just canceled it. In fact, this entry was so damaging to BioWare's reputation and the Mass Effect series that guess what? Yes, you're right, they put the series on ice. On ice. Why was that? Well, I haven't played Andromeda since I reviewed it back in 2017, so half a decade later, it's time for us to go back to the Andromeda Galaxy. And by us, I mean me, because I'm doing this for you so you don't have to. You see a main menu like this, you hear the light piano in the background, and you think you've got something special. If there's a term I could use to define Mass Effect Andromeda, it would be the black sheep. An entry in a storied franchise that has some good qualities, but does fall short of its predecessors. At least that's what I think. Right? When I first played it, and I consider myself a diehard Mass Effect fan, I want to go back, though. I want to see, have the feelings changed going into this game? Will I like it a little bit more the second time around? Appreciate qualities that I wasn't in love with back then a little bit more? We're going to customize our character and dive right in, because we're not playing as Shepard, we're playing as Ryder. I mean, I'm trying to make myself, but I don't think I look that creepy, bro. What the hell? So, upon creating your character, you choose your training that you received in the Milky Way before coming to the Andromeda Galaxy, and they have a good amount of them, honestly. Some of them kind of different, like the leader one allows you to like coordinate your squad a little more accurately compared to the others with like special abilities that tailor to that, which I thought was pretty cool. There's ones like Scrapper, which are kind of like a, to me, remade, at least with your starting power being charge, remade Vanguard class. That's something that's not really here, but you have charge, which is where you like launch yourself like a missile at certain enemies. One thing I will say, and you're going to hear me say it multiple times, so just prepare yourself, is the gameplay is not the problem here. It is not the problem here at all. This game is really fun, actually. There's a reason why I came back to the multiplayer a couple of times.
We take the first steps toward a new future for humanity.
So what's happening here is the Andromeda Initiative is like the core of this game. Humanity is going to explore another galaxy. Makes a lot of sense. Shepard's story is done. Let's fire ourselves into a new galaxy, start a new adventure. And you'll see right away one of the major problems with that idea is strictly that a lot of the things you see in Andromeda are identical to what you see in the Milky Way, where it doesn't differentiate itself enough. But I'll spotlight that as we get closer to it. So what we're looking at here is Arc Hyperion. This is what's carrying all of the humans from the Milky Way to Andromeda. This is significant because it's a one-way trip. So everyone's leaving their lives behind. And again, like the premise of Andromeda as a galaxy, as we're approaching it here, is very cool. It's very cool, like discovering a brand new galaxy rather than exploring one that maybe you're mildly familiar with, and using the technology that humanity has happened upon to explore even further. Again, makes a lot of sense. This game did deserve to exist. I just think there were reasons it was mishandled. That does not look like me at all. I screwed up bad. All right. So here's where Mass Effect Andromeda had a really good idea, but fell into the, I'd say, four-pointed template that Fallout 4 did. Now, when BioWare first pitched this idea to fans and said, like, this is what we're doing, they wanted to add more of an emotionally gray area to Mass Effect. Instead of making things Paragon and Renegade like they did in previous games, you know, just two sides of the moral spectrum, they wanted to explore it a little bit more widely, if you will. So as you'll see here, there are tone choices which help define Ryder's personality: emotional, logical, casual, professional, and will sort of shape your Ryder as you go deeper into the game. I remember being very for this idea, but sometimes simple is better. I think of the Fallout karma meter a bit when I look at something like this, where when Fallout's karma came into effect, a lot of people said, well, it's easy to gamify it. Like, you can give the homeless man a ton of water and you can become the best person on the planet in the game in minutes. And that is true. But I think it comes at the cost of what happens here with a voice character, with these tone choices, is everything's templated. Like, one direction is positive, one direction's negative, one's inquisitive, one's sarcastic. This game falls into that. And it was sad to see BioWare fall into that, just because, again, they're some of the best writers in this industry, I feel. I mean, they've made storied franchise after storied franchise. So the idea was there. I remember being very for it, but the execution quite literally wasn't, because you're applying a template to characters where everyone has to be emotional, logical, casual, and professional in any given situation. I think that sort of strips some of the personality, the backdrop of the characters that each of them have, like Shepard included, for example. Ryder included should have had his kind of preset personality, but that's not there. They tried to go very wide with their conversation system, as we'll see here. So we'll be professional.
Even if it isn't, we'll be ready.
And the voice actor for Ryder, Tom Taylorson, did a good job with his delivery. I think it's really tough to go up against Shepard. You know, right? That's like one that is really, I don't want to say impossible to top, but it's an unfair comparison. But I think Tom did a great job as the male protag. So this is a big component of the game here, the scanner. One of the cooler parts of the game, because it kind of captures a little bit of Batman Arkham vibes as you scan the environment. What we're doing here is scanning a power conduit for a part of the quest to introduce the mechanic, but this does expand into certain areas where, like, you'll do murder mystery tracking adventures, and it can get really cool. It's one of my favorite tools in the game for sure. And then see, you'll scan items like this, and it gives you an analysis of the item. Sam will say something to sort of shrink it down so you don't have to read a ton of text. It's really good stuff.
Running into an energy cloud, and that's just a wild guess what we hit.
See, this is another interesting aspect of the game. Like, you're kind of out in the unknown. Everyone's got a golden world where the arcs are set to land and colonize, create life. But now that things have gotten complicated, upon entry, you're like, okay, where are we going to land? How are we going to figure this out? Where are we going to wander? And your dad happens to be the pathfinder of your arc, which means, like, you know, where you're going to end up going. And it creates this interesting family dynamic with your sister in a coma, your dad handling things, kind of stuck out in space. Again, pretty solid intro, in my opinion, at least. That's the kind of narrative pitfall here, is they're heading to this thing called New Earth. Like, it's supposed to be the next Earth, right? But set in the Andromeda Galaxy. They're like, oh, it's been 600 years. Things could change. It just feels like there was no calculating the risk of when they are being sent out to this new galaxy of what could happen. And that's where I think it loses players a little bit. It's like, well, shouldn't you have technically seen a possibility like this coming? Like, oh, the planet could change in that amount of time. See, this sort of fixed camera perspective as you're traveling to space, the reason why I say it had an interesting, alluring concept is very much Dead Space vibes, like just wandering into the unknown. What was thought to be a safe situation, a hopeful situation, was the exact opposite, right? Dead Space, just a simple repair mission. Andromeda, just simply establishing the next era of humanity, right? Easy done? No. But I just love this kind of fixed camera perspective, looking out into the dark energy, really atmospheric. Another great tone-setting shot here. You're clearly not on Earth, and that things are about to go south really fast. And then they give you the gameplay, and it's the same shot, and you're like, okay, just take a moment, take this all in. So I get a nice Achievo. And the opening vibes are, okay, we're going to get a more linear, narrative-driven adventure. You know, nothing really open. And as we know, as the game progresses, it opens up more, very open-world focused. What is particularly impressive about the game, but is also its Achilles heel, is that this was all built, what you're going to see in this video and more, in a year and a half. This game had a 5-year development cycle. It effectively got restarted, and they had to build the rest of the game all over again in a year and a half. And for all of Andromeda's faults, it has a pretty staggering amount of content, fully voiced, lots of quests, some alternate endings to those quests, a lot of encounters you can enjoy, rich, dense worlds. I think that while this game is clearly flawed, I think a better term for it would be misunderstood in a lot of instances. It could have been better if the project was managed properly. That's the big frustration with BioWare, I feel, at this point in time, is less the quality of their stuff. Like, oh, Inquisition should have been managed better, but it's still got some good elements to it. Same thing here. I feel this game does have some positive elements, more negative, but some positive elements that are often overlooked in exchange for kind of the easy low-hanging fruit. You know, the facial animations, the characters, stuff that's very important, by the way, especially the characters. But I don't want to ignore that this game does have some positive qualities. Like, these environments are dope, I gotta say. But if anything about my Cyberpunk video told me is that being fair to a game means you love it, I do not like Andromeda. This is not my ideal way to spend my day. But I thought it would be an interesting little experiment here. We can test our weapon here, take a shot. Hell yeah.
Think I'd rather fall than get hit by lightning. Give it a minute. We can probably do both.
That's the other thing I don't really like about the game. A little too comedic for my liking, a little too lighthearted, especially, like, it's got Marvel movie energy, right? Forspoken energy, like, whoa. Like, give it a minute. We might get shot by lightning and fall off a cliff. We're not in the Milky Way anymore, bro. It's like, eh.
What the hell is that?
See, Marvel movie energy. It's Marvel movie energy. I don't know how else to define the writing, but trouble.
It's not a hotel.
See, it's like, I'm not trying to be heavily, overly critical of the writing, but it just seems like this is not the time to be cracking jokes. Like, take it seriously, Ryder. You'll find yourself doing this a lot in the game. Just scanning the environment like this here and learning more about these people, these creatures, the plants, so on and so forth. It'll be a default throughout the entire game. What you're seeing here is why we all stuck with Mass Effect Andromeda, because its gameplay is so silky smooth, like the jump dash, the gunplay, just all of it feels right, and then the powers, man. This is why the multiplayer did deserve better in Andromeda, because this game was fun to play. That was what really set me over the edge. I was like, if they just got the writing right, they had something so fun here. See, I also feel like they kind of jam the conflict without any logic. Like, well, we would shoot them if they came to Earth. I'm like, I don't think you would just shoot them if they came to Earth, personally. I also feel like, how is peace still not an option? Again, call it nitpicking. But to me, I just feel like they try to justify their own plot as writers without any real, I guess, sensibility behind it. Another good part about Andromeda is this, the mobility, the ability to say, I need to get over here, jump. I need to get up over here, jump, dash. That mobility is great. It's heavily utilized throughout the entire game, not only in combat, as I showed earlier, but also in its traversal throughout the environments, which allows these planets to look a little more alien, a little more unsettled, would probably be the word I'd use. But again, this is where I think it really just fits well, is that combat. Because it allows enemies to be a true threat, because the game trusts, like, hey, you have the tools to get out of this. Like, they can hit you hard. You should be able to move. So I just gotta say, I really like the use of darkness in this game as well. It makes these planets, again, feel relatively unsettled. Like any surprises could happen anywhere. And that there's a little more of a sense of danger when we're out and about here.
Oh, it's a generator. Yeah, sure. Why wouldn't it?
That Marvel energy, bro. It's so strong. Not a lot of people like to slander Marvel writing. I think it's just not high level intentionally, but I think it's very contagious type of writing to like have banter, like oh, that was supposed to be kind of crazy, but we're all cool about it. And that's another instance where he's like, oh, it's just a generator. What would you think we were just about to die on this alien planet? No, certainly not. All right, leveling up. You can upgrade your individual squad mates just in their skills. So since Liam is a security class, I believe, you can give him like Havoc Strike, and each skill has a set tree that you'll notice here. It's 3 ranks, and then they split. Now, it goes for all of them, depending on how you want to build things. And it's not like once you take the top path, you have to do all the top skills. You can take the top, bottom, top, if you so desire. And then there are, as you'll see here, more passive stat-based improvements. Now, they do get more skills over time as they level up. But, yeah, it does look a little soft at first. And then for your character, you have a lot to pick from. You have your specific weapons here, which, again, go down. I'm sorry, that's combat finesse. The weapons, though, go down similar pathways. And this is one thing I do like about Andromeda is its leveling, its scaling, I think is pretty good. Pretty customizable is always a good thing. And you can see here we have charge ranked up already. And so we can get a recharge upgrade, damage, and then we can make it where you do all types of things like shock trooper. It's like, okay, 75% plus the 35% here. That's over double your recharge speed. So again, a lot of customization here. The leveling system, I think at least, is good. Yep, things you just love to see. Can't shoot them until they hop off the ship. Very strict rule set here. Yeah, how can you not love that, though? That power fantasy is so strong here. And then they put, as you'll see in the middle of the screen, the cooldown meter, so you don't have to look away from what you're aiming at to know when your powers are up. It's like, okay, it's up now. Double dookie on him. Call it a day. And then the recharge meters are back up in the middle again. Again, this is why this game is, I don't want to say worth your time, but it's definitely why it may be worth the look. Is just damn fun to play. And I may be at the point of just overstating it, but, you know, I do have a soft spot for its combat, because I have a soft spot for the Mass Effect multiplayer. Mass Effect multiplayer is just bang on good, even in Andromeda. And I think it's because the gameplay's allowed to flex its muscles. But don't get me wrong, okay? Don't get it twisted. I still prefer my choice and consequence in my video games, especially my Mass Effect games. I'm just saying, combat, if you're like a gameplay-only person, you may like Andromeda. That was the smallest lightning strike. Such a small little lightning bolt for such a big moment. That's the thing with the companions in this game. Very hit or miss, in my opinion. You know, mostly misses. I don't want to be rude and just say like, oh, they're bad, because there is a companion mission in this game that's like downright hilarious. It's just that even if you were to remove Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 from the scenario, right? 3 games worth of build up for some of these companions. Even if I were to just claw them out of my memory, they never existed. Just standing on its own, Andromeda's companions, they're just not up to the task here. They are very uninteresting, and more so the world beckons your attention.
And then what?
We'll know when we get there.
And as we'll see here, some of the AI isn't that intelligent. Like now they're flanking me, but as you can see, it's letting my personal teammates just run around. Like, why are you hugging cover there? This was a big sticking point for the game at launch. It's still not necessarily great. They expect you as the main character to be moving around a lot, because this game, as you saw, is highly mobile. So I think they just kind of took a back seat on the AI because they're like, why is it going to matter? You're going to be doing most of the work anyway, just given how the encounter designs are. And also, the enemies you're going to face are going to require a lot of movement. Like, right now, we're just fighting grunts, right? We're just beating up on the big baddies, the little guys. But as you get deeper in the game, some of the tougher enemies do demand a lot more movement. And I think that's why, again, they kind of went soft on the AI, because it wasn't really demanding your attention until you really did this. You started to hunker down. So now we're getting squad orders. Again, this is what I talked about earlier with the leader class. You can tell them where to go, in this case based off where the D-pad is. So it's like, okay, and you go over here, and they'll post up. This allows you to get a little more strategic with the gameplay, but what I've noticed is pretty often they'll move out of the spots you tell them to go to relatively quickly. Like this, she's already out of cover, not really respecting the orders, and now she's all the way up there. It's like, okay, good work. Thanks, team. Dare I turn around and look at what Liam's doing? He's actually listening. He's actually following orders. The score here is really good, and the shots, like the cutscene work in this game, they got that one right.
I won't stand in the way. But being Pathfinder.
See, too much patting on the back. It was her job. They're already buddy-buddy. Liam put his hand on Cora's shoulder when she was talking about Ryder's dad, and there was no connection established there. It's like they're doing the things that should suggest friendship, bonding, but there's nothing that exists there since all of them are like just connecting here. Now, Ryder did know Cora, but outside of that, it feels like that was a faint thing because you're just introducing these characters to the player. So again, just another example of how I feel the character interactions do fail this game quite a bit. Our first Turian. Hell yeah. Our first Solarian. Oh no, we're getting close to the part. We're getting close to the part. The lady next to him. That is the face tired lady. Oh no.
Alec is dead.
She's still not looking too great.
The entire initiative is at risk.
She's like, Alec is dead. And our first Krogan. So where we are right now is the Nexus. This is the place that everyone was supposed to reunite. Everyone was going to dock their arcs here. It was going to be a great party of all the Earthlings, all the various races we know, Solarians, Krogans, Turians, all getting together, having a good time. You already know the story about the, Tali's race and everyone from there missing and how they were supposed to add them at the end of the game and they never did.
Sorry, my face is tired from dealing with and right now I just want to know what happened.
Not as bad. Actually, no, she's still pretty bad. That's actually funny that like they actually put a patch in for her and it's better, but it's still funny. It's not great still. All they did was make her blink a little bit more, but she still stares into your soul. The organization of folders and folders within folders, as you will see when you trek deeper into this game, could get a little messy. So you got priority ops, your main story. Then you have allies and relationships. Pretty easy to manage since there's not a ton of them. Like they say here on the right, loyalty missions are included in this category. This is the one that gets loaded up. These goals may not be essential to the initiative survival, but every little bit helps. And it's little things like this. Talk to these people, kill 5 of this, collect X of that. Oh my God, it loads up, man. It gets insane. And again, it's why you can kind of love and hate Andromeda at the same time. It's like, well, that's a lot of content for a game that was made in a year and a half, the one that we're playing now that was put together. So it is surprising just how content dense it is. It's just, we all would have taken a more slimmed down experience. Same story is told with Dragon Age Inquisition, as many of us know. That was some harsh lighting. Holy smokes. The lighting is so strong. It's like right in his face. Now it doesn't look as bad, but before it was like, I can barely see, man. Get some sunglasses. Oh, man. I'm remembering now that before, when the game first came out, whenever you wanted to check out a new planet, you see the skip button at the bottom. That was not there. So every planet had their own little zoom in cutscene. And it was like, bro, I just want to scan it. You know, just check it out. It's like, oh, okay, we got an anomaly here. Let's see what that's about. Okay. But like getting there sometimes was a pain in the butt. We can deploy a probe. See what's going on here. Got a deposit of mineral. Now we got beryllium. So it's still got that Mass Effect scanning vibe here. You love that. It's just a little more methodical, unfortunately. And this is sort of the heart of the game. Landing on planets, seeing a diverse amount of biomes for sure. And you'll be able to get a vehicle and ride around them. For the first time since Mass Effect 1, you had not seen vehicles. They kind of swapped that out for more of a linear third-person shooter, action-heavy type of game. But this game tried its best to get in contact with what made Mass Effect 1 special, right? This brand new galaxy feel, the gameplay connections, of course, being with the vehicle, that sense of exploration, that openness. Remember, in Mass Effect 2 and 3, there was exploration, but in 1, you could find like unmarked locations on planets and investigate them. Those are big difference makers, and this game looked to get in touch with that element. It just never quite hit the mark. But it's a game that, again, as I said at the start of the video, does fall in the black sheep category. Playing it here again, there are some more aggravating parts, like the dialogue, that stick out to me as like, this is just weak right now. The characters that are on my left and right are particularly very weak. But there is a sense of adventure here. It does capture the gameplay side of Mass Effect 1 quite well, and especially the shooting. I mean, it just feels really good to play. It's not a return to a game I completely regret, but it's a reminder that BioWare is a ways away from where they used to be. Because after this came Anthem, and Anthem was much more of the same tale, where it was kind of fun to play, but there was a non-existent story. So here's hoping with the next Mass Effect, and of course the much sooner Dragon Age 4, kind of get on the right path to what made BioWare great, because this had slight elements of it, but you could see with each sequential release, they got further and further away from the storytelling greatness that they once had a hold of. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed this return to Andromeda. I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts down below. Certainly, I'm unsure if this one's going to be contentious or not, because I know a lot of people, for example, defend Fallout 76, so I'm curious if people are going to come defend this black sheep here, because I don't think I'm attacking it, but any type of criticism is received as that. So I'm looking forward to seeing your thoughts, positive, negative, whatever. And with that, I will see all of you in the next video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.